How come business behind South African businesses' drive to thrive?
Research Hub Intelligence estimates informal businesses in South Africa to be worth 184 billion rand annually. This provides opportunity for FMCG businesses, landlords, and retailers to formalize this market. This week on the Entrepreneurial SME, we focus on business and investment opportunities within South Africa's township economy. My guest is Head of Research and Fund Management at Nedbank Private Wealth, Nandi Qubeka. I am your host, Rams Mabote. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Good evening, Nandi, to you, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Rams. It's a pleasure to be here.
What are some of the key insights that come from this research that we need to know about?
So I think one of the key insights, or a few of them really, is about the opportunity that exists for big businesses in the township economy. So according to our research, there are more than 500 major townships in South Africa, and a little over a third of the South African population lives in townships. Now, as we all well know, townships are generally underserved when it comes to access to infrastructure and services. But at the same time, they're home to thousands of thriving businesses, spaza shops, hair salons, mechanics, etc. Most of these businesses would make up the so-called informal economy. So I think between this large and fast-growing population of people living in the townships and all of these businesses, this is really a source of consumer demand and spending power. So I think the opportunity that we have uncovered in this research is that for retailers, really the opportunity is to service this demand, is to bring goods and services into the townships so people don't have to leave their communities in order to be able to access these things. For fast-moving consumer goods companies, the opportunities is to supply these businesses, whether it's the hair salon or the spaza or the fast food outlet. For property developers, the opportunity is, create shopping centers where all of these goods and services can be easily accessible to consumers in the township under one roof.
And cynics like me would argue that when that happens, it is not the small business in the township that benefits. It is the same business that we transport from Asentin into Soweto to do the same thing, just that I'm not going to travel to Soweto to get the same service or product.
Yeah, look, I think there is something to be said for shared value, and that's something we definitely argue for, that in going into township, businesses need to take a shared value approach. What that means is they need to aim to create value not just for themselves and for investors, but for the communities they go into as well. And there's a variety of ways to do this. I think the obvious one is by fostering economic growth in townships, creating jobs, providing skills development and training, supporting small businesses and suppliers by giving them access to market. I think businesses can go even a little bit further by investing in much needed infrastructure, having initiatives around healthcare and education. I think taking that approach goes a long way to making the quality of life for people in the townships better, and really ultimately we're talking about making these communities sustainable and prosperous, and when they are prosperous then businesses that operate there can be prosperous as well.
Just a few days ago, Dr. Sam Mutsonyane passed on, one of the greatest in our world of business. People like him and Richard Maponya and many others grew very well in the spaces where they were. And somebody argued at his memorial service that what is happening now is that we don't see the type of them coming up again because they're not growing and becoming bigger as the other guys became. Now they're competing with the big boys who are now trading in the townships. And again, it takes me back to, are we growing this thing called the township economy?
Well, I think there is an opportunity to grow this thing called the township economy. And I think it involves big players or big businesses, whether it's the retailers or landlords, investing, making commercial investments into townships. But local entrepreneurs in townships have a role to play as well, an important role. And maybe I'll focus in on informal traders in the economy, in the township, sorry. They play a very important role. So whether, retailers come into those markets or not, informal traders play a very important role. They know those communities very well. They know their particular needs and preferences. In some of the research we've done, we've seen that things like extended trading hours that informal traders provide, big retailers can't compete with that. Customized packaging, for instance. So I think informal traders or local entrepreneurs that come from township economies have an important role to play, but ultimately they can't meet all of the needs that consumers in the townships have, and that's where these big businesses, retailers, fast-moving consumer goods companies can fill in some of those gaps.
What does this 184 billion rand opportunity hold for banks like you?
Well,
Why is it necessary for you to be there?
Okay, so I am really speaking from an investment perspective. So my expertise really is in researching listed companies in South Africa, particularly the retailers. And in undertaking this research, what I've observed is the trend of retailers really changing their strategies in order to be able to enter the township market, in order to be able to open stores in these markets. So they are really seeing this opportunity, and they are refining their strategies in order to be able to capitalize on this opportunity. So from an investment perspective, I guess on the one hand, it's about observing these trends and seeing this opportunity for financial returns, but at the same time to be able to make a social impact, a positive social impact in these communities. So I think there's many perspectives one can take from.
And I'm going to go back to them. We need to take a break. We shall be back shortly. And when we come back, I want us to deal with this thing again that says, how do we grow this small person to become a bigger person? Stay with us.